Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Celebrity Spotlight Live. I'm your host, Modesty. Thank you for joining us for part two of Can We Talk? Last week, the topic was dating a celebrity, and we had a wonderful time. This week's topic is settle or wait, and our guest for the evening is relationship coach and author Shon, Dr. Love Hynemon of Phoenix, Arizona. How are you this evening, Dr. Love? Or should I say Shon?
I'm great, Modesty. Thank you for inviting me for a topic I'm so passionate about. So thank you. I'm excited about tonight.
Well, that's good. I'm excited about tonight as well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Shon, and then we'll get right into settle or wait.
Yes, my name is Shon Hynemon. I was given the name Dr. Love. Some people think I'm like self-appointed. I was actually given that name by a local radio host here in Arizona who read one of my books. And he gave me the name, and he started saying it on the radio, and then that's how my show started here locally in Arizona. And then everybody started seeing me in public, and they would call me that. So that's how that name came about.
Okay.
Happily married over 14 years, got 2 kids. I host the Dr. Love Show podcast that comes on every week. We discuss, we really prepare singles for marriage. And I love people and love discussing relationships, and I'm living it myself, so I'm learning as well.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. We're going to get right into settle or wait, and we'll be finishing, I would say, around 9 o'clock. And prior to that time, if anyone listening to us would like to ask any questions, you can just press Star 2 and then unmute your phone. Okay, Dr. Love, we're going to get right into this. Settle or wait. I am sure you have heard this 999,999 times that there are no available men. All of the men are either behind bars, or they're either married or taken, or they're bisexual, or they're gay. There aren't any good men out there. And so many women are starting to there's some women who are even sharing men. So they're starting to settle, and some are waiting, but some are also settling. So what I want to ask you is this: with reference to being with someone in a relationship, does having a checklist, should a man or a woman have a checklist when trying to decide whether or not they're going to settle with someone or whether or not they're going to wait? Does a checklist help make that decision?
Yes, there's nothing wrong with the checklist. The only thing with the checklist is you have to be honest about, I would say, your pros and cons as well.
Right.
I think that's a big one, because we would have our list of perfect person with no flaws, but we're flawed as well. So I think the pros and cons of that way, you can kind of gauge your standards when you look at yourself in the mirror.
Okay, right. And I believe the same thing. There's nothing wrong with having a checklist. What would you consider, though, as an unreasonable request or an unreasonable checklist item? And the reason I'm asking is because a very famous celebrity named Chili Thomas, first name is Rosanda, she was part of the celebrity group TLC. And I think a few years ago, she had a reality show called What Chili Wants, and she had a checklist. And there were several things on the checklist that she wanted. I'm glad to report now, last I heard, I believe everything on the list has been checked off, and she is currently in a relationship. But sometimes there can be some unreasonable things that individuals can be looking for in one another. What would you say on that checklist, on any checklist, would be kind of like unreasonable?
That's a good one. I think I think a lot of it comes from what are we really looking for. Somebody said, well, I want someone with perfect credit. But what is your credit score?
Okay, that's good. That's great.
I think I think we should kind of gauge that based on our own standards and being real with ourselves. So that kind of looks different for different people. But I always tell people it's easy to say I want a man with money or I want a woman with money, but where's yours? You have to think a lot of people, they want something that someone else have so they can kind of attain that thing. But you have to know that these type people, they are only around a certain group of people. They hang out with certain groups of people. So if you like a man with a six-pack, and then you're not taking care of yourself, then he's at the gym and you're not. So how you going? So it varies, and those are different. Just different kind of variables, but it just depends on more of what do you bring to the table.
Exactly, and definitely people should each individual should bring something to the table. We're not living in the days where our parents and grandparents were living in, when if he had the 4 chairs and the mother would have the table, and they worked together. Things were much different then. Commitment was even stronger then. Stick-to-itness was stronger then. Trust also was a little stronger then. They had their issues too, but things are totally different today than they were back then. You mentioned the word standards, and I want to segue into that. Should a woman or a man alter their standards in order to have someone? I'm asking because I had someone say to me many years ago, and I wanted to laugh so loud I didn't want to embarrass her. She said, "Oh, you're not married yet," etc. She said, "Well, you know what? A no good man is better than no man at all." And when Shon, when she told me that, I wanted to holler, but I couldn't because she was an elder, and I didn't want to, her to feel embarrassed. That thing was hilarious. But when it comes to standards, should we stand our ground, or should we lighten up on our standards a little bit when in a relationship?
Yeah, I think we should have a certain set of standards. I'm currently reading a book called Boundaries by Henry Cloud and Henry Thomas and Cloud and Clownson, are their last names. But they talk about boundaries, and I think when we talk about standards, it should, your standards is, I think you should have some kind of core standards. Do you believe in God? Are you, these certain kind of things, my religious background, the kind of family that I was raised in, these are the things that we kind of live by. So I don't think, so I think there are some core values that you should have that you shouldn't compromise on.
Okay, good.
But, yeah.
That's good, because sometimes, we often hear also that standards, some people set standards so high that they're not even reachable. And I've heard of women who have set standards so high that it seemed kind of very difficult, or it would be challenging for a man to reach those standards. And, as women, we have to be realistic as well. And we're living in a very, superficial, society. And we're living in a society where people, want it now. They want what they want, and they want it now. This is an instant or microwave, as you've said on your blog. It's a microwave society. We want things and we want them now. But when it comes to being superficial, or, having standards, I agree with you. We should not let go of our standards. But also we shouldn't set them so high that the next person could not reach our standards. Some people are so stuck on, I would say, doing things, let's say, by the book. He's, like you said earlier, he's got to have a six-pack. He's got to have this. He has to have that. He has to. Now, there's nothing wrong with wanting what you want, but again, we have to be reasonable. One time I said to a group of friends of mine, and I was just saying this to see what they were going to say. I said, would you be interested in dealing with someone? Would you settle down and marry someone if one of his ears was bigger than the other one? And I just asked, just to see what they were going to say. So some of them said no. And who was that last? Somebody. Somebody's laughing. Tina, is that you? Tina? Someone is laughing on the line. Oh, okay, darling. They said no. And I said, okay, well then, listen, I just said it to ask because you never know where people are. But when it comes to settling, down with someone, some people feel also, Shon, that if they decide that they want to settle, that there's nothing wrong with it. And that leads me to this question. When should a person settle, and when should they wait? If they should at all.
Yeah. And I would like to give a cookie-cutter answer and tell everybody just wait. Because some people are a little more advanced than other people. But I think my biggest thing is chances are that you're ready if you're going into a relationship looking to add value. Okay. Saying, not so much of accomplishments and stuff like that, but more of, I'm ready to give. I have something to bring to the table, not just more of what he can do for me or what she can do for me, because a lot of times that leaves us in a lazy state where we just expect people to do everything for us. They want us to fill these gaps, gaps that we have in our own soul, So it varies, but I think when you getting ready to enter a relationship and you're going giving opposed to taking, I think you have a better chance of being ready opposed to just settling.
Okay, that's good. Thank you so much for that. Along those lines, when you're talking about giving and taking, now, do we agree, does everyone, Shon, come into a relationship with baggage?
That's a good question. You know what? Yes. We all,
do they come in with a pouch?
This is some people, it just depends. Some people have sandwich bags. Some people have garbage bags.
I like that.
It depends.
That's funny.
It depends on the person. Some of us have a little more baggage than others. I think the key to that is knowing what you're willing to work through. My wife and I did a video series called "You Don't Have to Lie to Kick It," and what we talked about was it's a free video download. You get a chance to check it out. It was more of be yourself in this process. When you're dating someone, or if it's just a casual date, be you. Because a lot of times we are so afraid to show someone the real us that by the time we actually get into the relationship, we got them fooled already.
Okay. I understand, and that's true. There's no one can be you better than you can be you. Even if they bought the same clothes, fixed their hair the same, wore the same shoes, etc., even took upon themselves your name, no one can be you better than you can be you. And I think God planned it that way. Now, with reference to baggage, let's continue here. Should you settle? Should a man or woman settle with someone with baggage, or should they wait for someone who has none?
That's a good one. I think it's hard to wait for someone without baggage because we all have
That's
it.
a good answer. Okay, that's a good answer.
Yeah, we all have it, and I think the beauty, to me, the beauty of baggage is getting to see how much faith or how much commitment you have. Now, I'm not saying that just to I'm not saying just to settle and be with somebody who messing around on you and all those. I'm not saying that.
Exactly.
I'm saying more of people that, because I've been married over 14 years. My wife and I, we've had wars, but we still together. Right. And I don't mean I hate her or anything like that.
Exactly.
Or we go through things.
Exactly, we do.
So, are you willing to go through some things, because it's going to really show you who you are, and if you really have commitment and patience. Because we love throwing people away. The minute people don't like doing the stuff that we want them to, we throwing you away. And we on to the next one.
On to the next one. So, which leads me to the next point. So, what you're saying is, when a man or woman have baggage, help them unpack. Or again, should you see how heavy the baggage is before you go to the altar? This is a question for you. The person has bags. You're dating. And you've decided that you are going to settle down with this individual. Should you continue? Again, should you check to see how much baggage you're going to have, or should you just go for it?
Yeah, I would say check the baggage, because, as I alluded to earlier, it just depends on how much baggage you have. Because think about this. Let's get serious for a second. There's people who get married and they wait and they get married and then come to realize she's like, you know what? I don't want to have sex. Sex, it repulses me, because I might have been molested.
Okay, gotcha.
So that's heavy baggage. Now that's
true.
Not so much of discarding the person, because it happened. But at the same time, can you handle that? Like, can you help her work through that process? Can you be patient, or are you gonna say, well, she isn't meeting my needs, so I'm gonna just sleep with some other woman because she's tripping about something that happened to her 20 years ago?
Wow. You're absolutely right. And the reason I asked that question is because it came up while watching It's Not You, It's Men. That's a talk show hosted by Tyrese Gibson and Reverend Run. And some of the comments were, okay, yes, they even said on the show to help someone unpack. But there were others who were tweeting in saying, no, it's not your responsibility to help someone unpack. They should be unpacked by the time you get there. And I threw my 2 cents in and said, if it's not a Louis Vuitton bag, I'm not helping. But that was just, I can't unpack if it's not a Louis Vuitton bag. But nevertheless, that was just my joke. But thank you for answering that, because it's true. Everyone is going to have some kind of baggage, whether it's a package or whether it's a pouch, or like you said, it's a sandwich bag worth of baggage, and I'm sure everyone would probably want that sandwich bag size of baggage, because who likes to deal with problems? But sometimes things are made better and things are made stronger when you do have those problems. Another question I want to ask, and we both probably may know the answer to this one. Which gender would you say is more willing to settle than wait, a male or female?
Females, of course. Yeah, of course, females. I love my sisters, but settling, it's not cool, and I just want to say why, because some people settle, especially even when it comes to marriage. Why? It's better to be single and lonely to be married than lonely. You can be married lonely, and that's what a lot of times people miss, because especially for my singles, a lot of singles I know they want to get married, and I tell them that, look, marriage doesn't solve your personal issues.
Good.
If you nasty and single, you're gonna be nasty married. Marriage don't solve your problems. Actually, marriage is more of a mirror. It helps you to see you, like the real you.
That's good. And, just like you said, there's nothing wrong with, wanting to get married. But nowadays, it seems there are so many women to one man. And I was reading an article from Psychology Today, and they even suggested what you suggested, and I suggest as well, is that it is better to wait as opposed to settling. Now, with that thought in mind, what can desperation or aggression lead to when it comes to being in a relationship? If the person says, listen, my clock is ticking, it's time now. What can desperation or aggression lead to? And I'm asking because I'm sure you have talked to countless numbers of singles and married couples and have experienced so many different stories and so many different situations. What can happen if a woman becomes desperate, man, or aggressive when it comes to wanting to settle down?
It leaves the person depleted. You can become so needy, and I tell my sisters this needy. All the time. Yes. A man knows if you're needy. You don't even really have to say too much. You can talk to him for a minute. He knows if you're needy. Wow. And that's why the whole situation, and people ask me the same thing, is it okay for women to propose marriage to men and all this other stuff? And I'm like, look, that's desperation.
Okay.
I don't know too many, a woman proposed to me, I'm like, you needy. You think that's going to lock me down. So it depletes that needy person because, and unfortunately, people will take advantage of needy people because you're willing to do anything.
Anything.
No boundaries.
No boundaries. Wow. And we do need boundaries because we're definitely living in a very, very loose, I would say, society today. And it seems as if ethnics and etiquette and morality is being trampled upon and is being thrown out the window, and it's just being ignored, not by all, but I would say by a great number of people. And you can tell where a person is coming from because due to their conversation, what comes out of their mouth, the things that they say, you can tell what's on their mind and what's in their heart. This Bible even says, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So you can tell what's going on with someone by what's on the inside of them. And you're right, desperation and aggression, I was never taught that. Now, I would say I went down that road a few times on my own, because sometimes we do get impatient. And, again, that's where settling comes in at. But when a person settles, they're saying, you know what, I will take less. That's not saying that a person is worth less, but it's saying when you say, I'm going to take this, I'm going to take what's available, as opposed to waiting on something that I deserve. And there's nothing wrong with wanting something or deserving something. There's nothing wrong with that. It's not saying that a person is full of themselves or they're egotistical or they're narcissistic rather. If, they want what they deserve. That goes back to being self-confident, and it goes back to your own self-worth. I've heard some women say, I'm dealing with X, Y, and Z because if I leave this individual, I am not going to find anyone better. They have already counted themselves out. And that's not a good thing to do. That's not a good thing to do. So, okay, we have about 5 more minutes here. Anyone on the line, if you want to ask questions, if you're muted, just press the star key and 2, and it will unmute you if you want to ask any questions to Shon at this time. If not, I will just wrap it up with one more thing. Okay. What advice in our closing would you give to, I would say, the future Cinderellas or future knights who are in the waiting area of their life? Now, granted, as we discussed a few seconds ago, women are more likely to settle faster than men, and I believe there are more women in the waiting room or waiting area of their life than there are men. That's my belief. So what would you – go ahead. You agree?
Yes, I agree. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was about to say, my advice is really in this time of waiting, like, enjoy your life. And coming from, for me, coming from a Christian perspective and getting to know God and getting in His Word and really understanding Him, because you're going to need Him when you're in relationships. You're going to, we think we understand unconditional love. If we get into the Word, we can really understand unconditional love. And because we want to be loved unconditionally, but we don't want to reciprocate it.
Okay, right.
So that's my thing. Live your life. Stop waiting.
Just keep moving. KIM.
Yeah. Yep.
Keep it moving.
KIM. Keep it moving.
Kim, keep it moving. And I would also like to say, this saying was given to me from my co-host. She comes on whenever she gets ready to. Her name is Martina Morgan. And she shared something with me today which is powerful. And it says, powerful is the one who is willing to wait for what they deserve instead of settling for what is available. And I told her that saying is so powerful. Waiting is not the easiest thing. Even when you have a doctor's appointment and you're sitting in the waiting area, you know what time the appointment is, but it's still hard to wait until it's your turn. When you go to the grocery store and there are people in front of you, they have express counters now where you don't have to wait as long. When you're getting ready to cross the street or when you're driving, people sometimes don't want to wait until you switch lanes. Waiting is not always easy for people in various situations and circumstances, but it's the best thing to do. It may be the hardest thing to do, but it's the best thing to do. One thing I would say I don't believe singles want to do is this, and that is to meet their husband or wife after they walk down the aisle and get married. In other words, you're married to someone. You settled with them because that's what nothing else seemed like it was coming. And then you do meet someone, not that you're dealing with this individual because you are married, but you realize you should have waited. You know what I'm saying? Some people, I don't know any, thank God, but I don't want to meet my husband after I get married because I settled. So the bottom line is this. Somebody's laughing. I can hear them in the background. So the bottom line is this. It's not easy to wait, but the best thing to do is to wait. Now, just for another minute, because we're heading to the 9 o'clock hour here. Tell those who are listening where they can find information or your books. List your website there for them.
Yes, they can visit my website at drloveshow.com. That's spelled out. It's not abbreviated. It's DOCTOR. drloveshow.com. I have a wealth of free giveaways. I got free video downloads you can grab, but you can also grab some of my books, ebooks concerning relationships and life and just things that I've been through and It's an awesome site. Go check it out. Podcast comes on every week, every Saturday, so you can download the show as well.
Excellent. Hold on one second, please.
Mm-hmm.